Hey guys, Full/Polygon here. Welcome to episode 32. Talking more Dark Souls 2 PvP. Magic Johnson just popped into my head because I cannot hear the number 32 without thinking of childhood hero Irvin Magic Johnson, which is also the greatest porn name ever, by the way. So back in the arena, I'm pretty excited to talk about this one. I've had playstyles on the brain recently, and I've been looking for an excuse to talk about this for the past few months, especially around the rise of the new zeitgeist, I guess, in Dark Souls 2 PvP, playing unlocked, fancy-dancy unlocked play. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit. I really do feel like it's hit a critical mass. Yes, unlocked play was there in Demon Souls. Yes, it was there in Dark Souls, but I don't feel like it was there in the extent that I'm seeing it in Dark Souls 2. So I wanted to throw out some thoughts on that. I think it's pretty cool as a phenomenon. Talk about some stuff that I'm doing in response. Talk about when maybe things go a little too far, aka unlocking and spinning around in a circle. Here we go. Okay, so we will kick things off with a pretty par for the course look at the build. Here she is. It's a pretty bare bones Dex Pyro build I put together, 145, so it's meta-ish. I still have a couple of points to play around with. Nothing but a scimitar and a pyro glove. It is a Rob Flynn build, so you know I'm try-harding, except for my armor, which is an absolute mess. Various stages of upgrade. I didn't have enough stones to finish things off by the time I wanted to jump into the arena. So the character is pretty squishy with some pretty crappy defenses, but, you know, who cares? Side note, I should also call out my Ring of Blades +2. Sounds so silly, but I'm really proud of my Ring of Blades +2. So few of the characters that I show in these videos have a Ring of Blades +2, because I hate those pursuers, man. I hate them. They're so cheap. So cheap. Side note number 2, did you know they actually patched the thing where you can't even cheese those guys anymore? You can't even do the curse trick anymore. You used to be able to let one of them catch you with their little purple sword thrusty cursey stab attack. The other one would phase into the floor because I guess the AI thought you left the room or something ridiculous, and then you could actually take them on one at a time. They patched that as of 110. I tried it the other night. I will admit I was feeling particularly lazy and let one of them curse me and ended up having to fight both pursuers after being cursed. So that's kind of lame. Actually, no, that's kind of cool. I am actually all for any kind of anti-cheese patch, be it for PvP or PvE. So good on him. I wanted to talk about my scimitar quick a little bit too. I'm actually having a lot of fun with this weapon. Might be an odd choice. You don't see a ton of these out there except for guys doing maybe challenge builds or they like the fashion of it. That's kind of my bag. I really like the way this thing looks. I really think it's a slick fucking looking little blade. I've always liked curved swords. You might be asking, why aren't you using the warp sword? Because I hate it. I've got a serious case of warp sword fatigue, and I think that thing looks absolutely asinine. I just cannot, personal opinion, disclaimer, I cannot abide the little handguard that is way too big and the goofy serpentine blade, and I don't know, I just do not like the way it looks. Conversely, I think the scimitar looks pretty cool. I also cannot find the parry frames on this thing for all the money in the world. And I'm really committed to trying figuring it out and learning. So I've got it equipped as my only piece of gear that can attack or block or defend. I'm trying to live or die by my scimitar. And I can't swap either. I cannot swap my way out of a paper bag, which I suppose would put me in a plastic bag. I don't even know what that means, swap my way out of a paper bag. But I can't swap. So it's not like I can switch out to something else. It is just me and my trusty Simi. I should talk a little bit maybe about my playstyle and movement over the course of these videos too. It might be a little bit odd, but I'll get to that down the way because I want to jump right into the fancy dancing. Because a couple of episodes back, throwing back, I was talking about baiting and how I thought baiting was the new meta. I feel like baiting is more prevalent than it has ever been in a Souls series installment of PvP for good reason. I mean, there's a lot of reasons for it. We rehashed that in the last video. I won't call it out here. But I'm going to amend that. I think there is a new meta. The new meta is the prom. Man, it is the prom because everybody's just out there dancing. Nobody wants to do anything except bust a move and score. I guess you got to score at the prom, but mostly dance. And, you know, standard internet disclaimers apply. When I say everybody, I don't actually mean everybody. When I say nobody, I don't literally mean nobody. I'm speaking in hyperbole, just to get that out of the way. But I do feel like the fancy dancy unlocked playstyle has kind of hit a critical mass out in the PvP landscape. And I think as a phenomenon, that is really cool. I think, you know, I started noticing this many months ago when a couple of really prominent, really talented guys kind of naturally evolved into this really sporadic seeming happy feet style of play, unlocking really beautifully fusing aggressive play with reactive play, with baiting. And I think when it works and the way that these guys are doing it when done well, it is it's a thing to behold, man. It is so difficult to fight against. I think it is so cool in the way it just meshes some of the great parts of PvP, the aggressive play. You know, the game lends itself really well to spam, to stun lock, not spam, but to stun lock. So mixing in the aggressive play with the reactive play, the game lends itself really well to reactive play. That's how you beat every boss in the game. Baiting being such a thing. Cancels, you've got to mix in some cancels too. Those side note number 3, cancels out of control. Oh my god, I feel like there have been more attacks canceled in the last 2 months than there have been attacks thrown in all of Dark Souls 2's life. Again, personal opinion, speaking in hyperbole, but I really think cancels, like the fancy dancy playstyle, when done well, are slick and cool, and when done badly, are ridiculous. Let's show some restraint with our cancels. You don't have to cancel every attack. Okay, side note concluded. But yeah, I feel like when the playstyle, this fancy dancy unlocked playstyle, is done well, it is a fantastic asset to the community. I think it brings a lot of variety to PvP, especially in light of facing the same weapons over and over again, played in the same way over and over again. I think the guys that are doing this well are really cool to watch when you catch them on screen, like on a stream or something like that, or gotta help you as an opponent. Because it looks like these guys are just running around like madmen, but in actuality, they have super tight control of their character and are blending all of these things really well. The aggressive play, the reactive play, the baiting, they're constantly baiting you with their erratic movements. They're dashing in, they're dashing out. You don't know where attacks are coming from. Are they coming? Are they going? Oh, he just turned around and stabbed me. What is happening? It's really cool when it's done well. And it really does seem like this fancy dancy sounds diminutive. That's not my intent. This unlocked, erratic movement, happy feet style of play seems like it has really come into its own in the mainstream in the past few months. I feel like that maybe 5 out of 10 guys that I run into in the arenas, in dueling areas especially, it's all over the arenas, little bit on the bridge, though there's not a whole lot of room to run around there. Definitely at Hade's Ruin bonfire, definitely on the Pursuer rooftop. Any place dueling is a happening, people be a dancing. And I think 5 out of 10 was a real weird ratio too. I should have just gone 1 out of 2. 50% of the guys, 732 out of 1,464 guys that I come across are utilizing this playstyle. 1 out of 2, 50% of the players. And that's just kind of in my experience, and I feel like that is more than it's ever been in the PvP landscape in prior installments. And I think that's really, really interesting. You know, I think the guys that kind of pioneered the style spawned a lot of, I can't say imitators, but like guys that saw them having such effect in this, and then so it just kind of naturally snowballed into a pretty big slice of the player base out there playing like this. I think that's kind of, like I said, I think that is absolutely fascinating as a cultural phenomenon within the meta community. I also see a lot of comments talking about this thing. Just about every YouTube video these days has some comments talking about somebody, you know, fancy dancing, giving them grief. I see a lot of Twitch chat comments talking about this. Chat comments? Twitch chats, I guess. No, they're comments in the chat. I see a lot of Twitch chat comments talking about this too. Like, I hate guys that play like that. And I think one of the testaments to this thing coming into its own and becoming a thing is that you can point at it, and people that are familiar with the PvP scene know exactly what you're talking about. In the same way that you could point at backstab fishers and say, I hate backstab fishers. It was this top to bottom approach to PvP. Turtling, I think, is another example where it's like you grab a shield, you grab a weapon that can poke behind it, you just keep it raised, and as long as you manage your stamina, you're kind of good to go. You know, and discounting counters, we don't need to get into it. You can dead angle, and with proper spacing and footwork, backstab fishers are not a problem, blah fucking blah. That's not the point. The point is these are like play styles in and of themselves. Very specific things that you can point at and say, I hate backstab fishers. I hate turtles. I hate fancy dancers, or whatever the hell this thing is called. And I think that's really cool. And I think, you know, in a lot of the comments that I see, throwing back to that, where it's driving people crazy, I don't think, myself included, I have a really difficult time going up against this play style. And when it's done well, I find it a really lovely little challenge. And when it's done badly, I find it so infuriating. It is so fucking annoying. And I think the people that are doing it badly are on the receiving end of some of those comments that I've seen. Because I keep hammering on when it's done well, when it's done well, when it's done well. That is the rub. There is the rub. Because when it's done badly, if you're not properly balancing all of the elements of the effective playstyle, like the aggression mixed with reaction, mixed with the baiting, mixed with all the other stuff, if you're not incorporating all those elements, it is really easy to err on the side of reactivity. And I think a lot of these guys that maybe haven't, these second and third and fourth generation mimics that kind of see people playing like this and say, well, I can do that, I'll just unlock and run around, take it a little bit too far in the reactive direction. I think these are the guys that you see unlock and spin around in a circle and, you know, air quote, bait you to approach them so that they can either come in with a running attack or sucker stab you and say, haha, surprise, didn't see that coming. No, actually, we all saw that coming. This is not the variety we are looking for. And I think in the cases where it gets a little bit too far on the reactive side, that's exactly what they're doing. They're just being reactive players. That's it. And I think it's really easy to abuse this style of play, especially when you unlock and spin around in a circle. To use it as just sort of like a smoke screen. It's almost like you're being you're actively reactive. You know, I think of a lot of situations that I come across where guys are doing this, and you can just substitute the times where they are out there running around like an ass, being a merry-go-round, with just simply standing still. In a lot of cases, you might as well just be standing still, waiting for the opponent to swing or waiting for the opponent to walk up to you so you can catch them in an R1 stun lock or something like that. And I think in a lot of cases, a lot of people that are taking it a little too far, who are not striking the balance of fusing all the elements effectively, are just being very, very busy, making it look like they're busy or they're doing something when in actuality they're doing nothing. And I should actually point at the clips too, because they don't necessarily sync up with what I'm talking about when I'm talking about it. This was just sort of a random hour of PvP that I captured a couple days ago. I don't even remember when. But I think in editing them together, they do a pretty good job of illustrating some of the ratios that I'm talking about. Like, I think it's 1 out of 2 guys that are playing with the unlocked fancy dancy style, and then some of the guys, myself included, are a little bit more meat and potatoes. And I think they do, you know, I'm not gonna, I do think they do a good job of illustrating that some of the guys out there are doing it well, and some of the guys out there are doing it not so well. But let me just say, nobody's trying to talk smack about people. Nobody's trying to talk smack about people. Oh, there we go. My street cred is poking out. Nobody's trying to talk shit about any specific people. And I think a lot of the comments that are made in terms of the playstyle driving them daffy is in response to the people that are taking it a little bit too far on the reactive side, not necessarily the guys that are out there doing it well. So there's another little round of disclaimers there. But yeah, I mean, I think as a phenomenon, like as a thing, I am absolutely fascinated by this playstyle, and I think it's so cool to have witnessed it coming into its own over the past many months. I think that is a really slick, interesting occurrence that has occurred, as occurrences do. They occur in the PvP landscape. I think that is pretty cool. In terms of opinions on it, I've tried it. I played like this for a good while and was really trying to dance around, really trying to mix it up a little bit. It wasn't personally for me. I've never really aspired to be that flashy of a player, and I think for me, it seems to be a little bit too flashy. And so I've since reverted to a little bit more vanilla gameplay. And actually, in these clips, I'm taking it, I'm kind of goofing around with a new playstyle of my own. I am trying to take it in completely the opposite direction, in just sort of seeing more and more of this happen. I am actually goofing around with the playstyle where I try and move as little as possible, or I guess as little as reasonable is probably the more accurate way to say that. I'm trying not to do too many superfluous movements. I am trying not to do the little sway left to right that you see so many people do, myself included, when you're trying to feel out spacing with the other guy. I'm trying and failing not to constantly approach from the left. That's a thing too. That's kind of a weird phenomenon to witness. But if you go out and watch random clips, or you just pay attention to your arena fights, or maybe it's something you're doing, it's something I'm doing all the time, as you're approaching your opponent, you are constantly slightly circling left. I don't know if there's just this weird gravitational pull in Dragon Lake that is pulling everybody to their left. Maybe there's mechanical reasons in terms of the way that most weapons swing, but I think that's really interesting. Go check it out. Just watch it. Everybody is slightly moving left. But yeah, so I am trying to move as little. That's where the slow walks are coming from. That's where the slow advancement is coming from, especially when people unlock and go out and start to dance. They're sort of like, come and get me. And my response is sort of like, yeah, I'll get there. I'll get there eventually. Here I come. Not there yet. So I'm just kind of messing around with that and really trying to, because I'm curious about the playstyle too, like sort of the very vanilla, very meat and potatoes method of PvP in terms of being competitive, because I see so many really talented guys moving more and more and more towards the happy feet style of play that I'm just kind of dicking around with something completely opposite, saying like, well, can I do okay? And I will say, by the end of it, I was slow walking like a boss. I'm probably going to edit that out. But we are out of clips anyway, so I gotta cut this pretty abruptly. I probably could have rambled for another 8 minutes, but nobody needs that. So let me know what you guys think. Maybe talk me in off the ledge. I don't think I'm standing out here alone. I really do think like this is a new thing in terms of the occurrence that we're seeing it, the fancy dancy unlock playstyle. So I mean, has your experience been similar? What do you think of it? Do you employ it? I assume it's really effective. It's really effective against me, if nothing else. But yeah, just some random thoughts. Let me know what you think. Comments are greatly appreciated. Feedback, thumbs up, thumbs down. Let me know, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye.